All right. Well, let's get motoring here. If anybody joins in, they'll just have to catch up on their own. So, thanks
Cool.
guys for joining us this afternoon. As you know, we launched a partnership with AIM and Brokers Are Better, and we're super excited about that. We are literally, call it 3 weeks into that partnership, and have started to sign up brokers to the FinLocker platform, and just couldn't be prouder to support the Brokers Are Better group. So I joined FinLocker last July. My name's Brian View for the two of you on here that, well, JP and I know each other, but Chris, I'm Brian here. I joined as president. I invested in the company, and I was super excited about what FinLocker do to help local originators and real estate professionals kind of fight off these big fintechs who are uber focused on winning the race to the consumer and ultimately trying to disintermediate the local originator and real estate professional. And so this slide kind of talks about or shows you a lot of brands and logos. I've circled a few of the big ones that are, super focused on getting to the consumer: Mint.com, Credit Karma. Of course, these guys over here are typically buying the leads that guys are selling. So a lot of these financial apps are marketplace apps. The consumers are attracted in, enticed to sign up, and then they sell that consumer as a lead on the back end. And so what FinLocker did is we built what we call a financial super app. We combine many of the features that you would get from one or more of these apps. So in many cases, you might have to have 4 of these disparate apps on your phone to match the functionality that we provide to a consumer in our super app. And so I was super excited about that. I had already been working with AIM and Brokers. I ran wholesale lend for Flagstar before coming to FinLocker. And so talking to Anthony Casa and the team there, I really saw a path to take our platform, which was built for large enterprises, and actually scale it down to be something that could be ingested and used by an individual independent loan officer. So let me go into a couple use cases here. So these are some of the use cases our clients are having today. First-time home buyers is a huge one for us. We're big on education and preparation for the consumer so that they're ready to be a responsible homeowner and mortgage borrower. We also see a use case for consumers that come into the sales funnel. They're not quite ready due to credit, income, DTI. The platform helps them get ready and then brings them back to you. Of course, customer for life. Once they've closed a loan with you, the locker is actually a native app. It lives on. And so you become attached to their phone as and they become a customer for life for you in that attachment. And then this current little crisis we're all going through, we have a lot of our clients are sending out or distributing lockers to their prospects and clients who maybe are not even in the mortgage space right now, but are doing it to really build their pipeline and helping promote financial health and wellness. For the consumer, several benefits that they get. You're looking at a snapshot of a dashboard that we're going to dive into. But among the benefits for the consumer is access to their credit score, credit report, credit monitoring, credit alerts, credit education. They can enroll their financial accounts and then have a single pane of glass view of their entire financial life, which also kicks off spending analysis, budgeting, goal planning, et cetera. Extensive and deep education library will show you that deep into home ownership and mortgage preparedness. And we even have real estate search. So I'm going to show you that as we get into the demo. A couple key things for the consumer. The locker is super simple to set up and enroll. And more importantly, or equally important, depending on how you look at it, it's super secure. So we have multiple of security, which include identity verification, multi-factor authentication for the consumer. All of the data is encrypted, both in transit as well as at rest. We do a SOC 2 Type 2 audit twice a year. And then we're also audited by third parties like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Fiserv, as well as some of our banking clients. Here are some of our broker clients there on the left who've signed up so far. and some of the partners that we've engaged with. Our platform has multiple patents on it, and we've partnered with folks like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Microsoft on a number of initiatives, and specifically focusing on helping first-time homebuyers achieve the dream of home ownership. From a consumer perspective, the Locker is what we call a consumer mission data sharing platform, among other things. And all that means is the consumer's data is their data. They're the only ones that have access to it until they're at a point when they're ready to share it, in this case, for a mortgage application. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So as you're building, as your customers are getting signed up under your version of FinLocker, they're in control of their data. Nobody else can see it. We can't even see it here at FinLocker. And then when they're ready to share a subset of that data, which they choose, they can do so with you. And again, for purposes of a mortgage application is what we're going to show you. We are a native app, so we're accessible for iOS and Android. Consumers can access us on the desktop as well. And again, this is another great way for you to become permanently attached and connected to the consumer on their phone. And then just to kind of wrap up this little short slideshow, some of those fintechs that are racing to get to the consumer first, we believe that local originators can win by partnering with FinLocker, providing their consumers with state-of-the-art technology coupled with your local relationships, knowledge, and expertise. So let's do this real quick. Let me jump over into demo land. I'm going to start real quick in a different Locker environment. I'm also going to refresh these so we don't lose them and I don't have to log back in. So this first one here, this is an example of a branded FinLocker environment. So this is Lund Mortgage, one of our broker clients. And so this is the view that the consumer has after they've enrolled in the Locker. So they come into this dashboard and these widgets that you see are for the most part empty. And so when I go into the next demo environment, you'll see how they all come to life. But essentially what you're seeing here from a branding perspective, here's Lund Mortgage. Let me close all these guys out.
I know. But, I mean, that's a case by case basis.
Let's mute our friend there. All right. So what you see is the branding of the company, Lund Mortgage. We've color schemed the Locker dashboard using and matching to Lund's website. So from a consumer perspective, this looks and feels like I'm in Lund Mortgage's technology stack or ecosystem. Further customization allows us to add the loan officer or loan officers if you have multiple folks on your team. So the consumer in their Locker is seeing the loan officer, has all their contact information. Again, now is being provided access to these various financial tools that I'm going to go into. Before I jump out of this environment and go into my demo environment, I'm going to point out that this widget here that I'm hovering over, where it says Lund Mortgage, and in this widget are also configurable. It's that you have control over. So you can have up to 3 offers or messages that will pivot through this offer widget, which I'll show you in a moment. And then if you manage a blog today, we can connect your blog to the Locker. So further customization that it keeps you meaningfully connected with your prospects and clients. So from here, let me just show you real quick the ways that consumer get to the Locker, because that you start thinking about how are you getting your prospects and customers into the FinLocker product. So using Lund Mortgage again example. So this is Lund's homepage. This is a Lead Pops website, and Fin has a dedicated landing page built on the Lead Pops platform. It's under free tools. It's called Mortgage Readiness, and I'll click that in a second. Essentially, what Lund and other brokers on the Lead Pops site is anywhere where you see a funnel on the website, at the end of the funnel, they're providing the consumer at the end of that funnel with access to a free Locker. So it's taking the lead that's kind of gone through the funnel process and then inviting them into a locker to kind of groom, get them ready for a transaction down the road. Let me show you the landing page that they're driven to. So this is the landing page that's on the Lead Pop site under Lund Mortgage. So there's their logo, and consumers kind of taken through a little bit of a journey of what is FinLocker, why is it beneficial to me, and how do I sign up? So just a quick view of the app. This takes them to our website. Obviously, features, benefits, kind of a quick view of the dashboard, and then finally a short overview video that they can preview here. It's like a 1.5 minutes long. And then if they're ready to get their free locker, the call to action. This takes them into the Lund Mortgage FinLocker environment. So again, it's going to be Lund Mortgage logo up here at the top. And then they start their enrollment process. It's literally, we have 5 steps here after tonight with our latest release. We're down to 4 steps, and it takes 90 seconds to open a locker. So now that the locker's opened and a consumer has started to set up their locker, this is what you see coming back to your locker after you've rolled your credit, enrolled some financial accounts, and set up a few budgets and goals. So you can see the dashboard now has really come to life. The widgets that were empty in that Lund example now are kind of populated and bringing a lot of value. So a couple things to point out again. The branding at the top here is My Acme Bank. So there's that would be your logo. Again, your color scheme. And then again, your contact information as the loan originator. So note that I am the loan originator here. The couple things that the consumer typically does when they first come in, usually, and I'd say this is 8 times out of 10, the first thing a consumer does is generally they'll enroll for credit. So there's a kind of a guided path that they're taking once they've enrolled. We ask them if they want to set up their credit. We take them through an identity verification process. They're asked a series of wallet questions. Once they affirmatively answer those, this widget comes to life. They'll get their credit score here. We update the credit score once per month. It is a Vantage score 3.0, just to kind of point that out. And then from this widget, a couple things. Anywhere where you see this question mark over these widgets or anywhere in the locker, clicking into that gives you more information. It could be just generic information, or it could be actual video education content. Like here, for instance, we have videos on how to set up your accounts, which I'll come back and show you. But I can click into this widget now as a user and actually see my credit report. So not only can I see all the accounts in my credit report, I can drill into each account, kind of look at the pay history, the balance owed, et cetera, et cetera. There's some quick links to the right for credit education, which is really helpful, especially for first-time home buyers. And then over here to the left, any credit alerts that might be on my credit report would show up here inside the widget. I would also get a notification, either in-app or email or both, depending on how I set up my communication preferences. And then any inquiries that were on my credit report would be showing up here. And then I want to show you a new feature we added with our last release. This came about from direct feedback from brokers in the AIM group. We added links in the widget for consumers to opt out of the various trigger leads, whether it's the do not call registry, the direct mail association, or signing out for opt-out pre-screens, which is essentially a single link that a consumer completes, and then they're removed from all 4 bureaus for trigger leads. Going back to the dashboard real quick, after the consumers enrolled their credit, the typical next step is starting to add financial accounts. So I'm going to click into this widget in a moment, but just a reminder, if I want more information on how to set up my financial accounts, I click this short video, and it would take me through, it's probably 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes long. Yeah, 1.5 minutes. The short video on how to enroll my accounts. If I'm having issues, I would click this issues, and we've got some kind of common issues here that they can troubleshoot. And then if they want to know more about the security of FinLocker, we've got a short video on that. So let me click into the widget now and show you what it looks like for a consumer who's already enrolled several financial accounts. First of all, down the left, you're going to see in green represents the accounts that the consumer has enrolled. So the name of the account. So in this you've got the financial institution up here, Midland States Bank. And then in this case, there's 4 separate accounts with Midland, each identified with their last 4 digits of their account number and their current balance as of last night. So we're harvesting data every evening from these accounts and updating that balance every evening. Adding account, the red accounts signify liability accounts. We've got 2 credit cards and a mortgage here. What I tell folks here is if you have online credentials for an account, whether it's a mortgage, a savings account, checking account, money market, 401k, IRA, I was going to say 203k, that doesn't work there. What else? Home loans, student loans, more car loans, consumer loans, credit cards. I mean, I even have my Liberty Mutual insurance account and my Verizon wireless account synced in my locker. So if you have online credentials, 9 times out of 10, you can add that account to your locker. Adding accounts is very simple. Again, we got another quick hover over video if they need help. Otherwise, just enter your financial institution here. So I bank with Flagstar Bank. So when I click Flagstar, it's going to bring up either my loans, which is the servicing account, or my online banking or credit card. I would click my online bank account, enter my credentials like I was logging into my Flagstar Bank account. I would click log in. At the same time that I do that, I would get a text Flagstar, and that text would have a 5 or 6 digit multi-factor authentication code, and a window here would open up. I would input that 5-digit, click enter, and then Flagstar would show up quickly up here on the drop down, and then all of the transactional data from that Flagstar account would show up to the right. So a couple things here just to point out. We partner with Fiserv for our data aggregation, and that's meaningful because Fiserv powers about 40% of the US core banking platforms between the large national banks and credit unions. And what that means is about 30% of the time when a consumer is connecting a financial account, we can bring in up to 24 months of their transactional data. Another 40% of the time, we can bring in 12 months. And then the balance, which are typically going to be your smaller credit unions and community banks, we're bringing in around 120 days of transactional data. And so what happens with the locker, once all that transactional data is in the locker, 2 additional widgets, actually 4 widgets come to life, but 2 in particular come to life. And those are the spending widget up here and the budgets and goals. So let's go into the spending widget real quick. So when I click into the widget, the first thing I'm going to see is current month to date, all of my spending for May month to date. And I can go back and look at year to date, prior month. I can go back a year or 2 years if I wanted to, depending on how long I've had this locker open. But again, remember, we're bringing in, 20% of the time, 12 to 24 months of transactional data. So day one for most consumers, this spending analysis is going to go back months and provide meaningful trended analysis for the consumer that helps them better understand their spending and setting up budgets to really get things under control. So if you think about, again, first-time home buyers, this is super important for first-time home buyers to become more ready. From here, I can click into any one of these donuts, see the specific category. So let's just go into food and dining, this little purple one. And once I click that food and dining category, the food and dining transactions for my month to date May show up over here. And you can see we even go further and drill down into groceries, restaurants, fast food, et cetera. And so now as a consumer, I can set up specific budgets for these line items. I have a budget for food and dining versus groceries versus fast food, et cetera. And then the locker will now track the consumer's actual spending in those categories and provide them regular notifications on how they're doing against those particular budgets. Pivoting back to the dashboard, let's dive actually into the budgets and goals widget here. So you can see I've got several budgets that we've set up in this locker environment. Too much red for my liking here, so we're not doing that great with our budgets. We've also set up some savings goals. So the goals could be saving for a new home, so saving for the down payment for my first home, or if I'm either to getting into my new home or in that home, setting up another savings goal for a 6-month mortgage payment cushion, right? Kids' college funds, new cars, et cetera. There's really no limit to what consumers can set up in terms of budgets and goals. We have these quick links to a wizard that allows the consumer to set up a specific goal. Could be for a new home. Actually pick the accounts they want to fund the goal from, or the budget from. Actually, that's not right. I'm not going to put a new home. This would be more like home expenses, we'll call it. And then I could pick the category that falls under the home, and then set this specific budget up. Another quick reference to a learning video if they want to learn more about the budget process and setting it up. What I want to point out here is tonight, in our release this evening, we're going to have a second view of budget that shows up for the consumer. And we took the HUD-approved housing counseling budget that is used by nonprofits and housing counselors, both for pre-mortgage counseling as well as loss mitigation counseling. And so effective tomorrow in this locker, I'll have a second button up here where I can click into and see my completed budget. So effectively tomorrow, when a consumer sets up their locker, that budget will automatically populate using all the transactional data. It will not require them to set up any of those specific budgets. And then from there, the consumer can always come in and click this edit pencil and tweak the budget, increase it, lower it, change the accounts that are tracking to it, et cetera. Let's go back to the dashboard real quick. I'll kind of fly by and keep showing you these features, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. In the Lund Mortgage locker, I showed you the widget, the rotating widget that provides you the ability to further customize the locker experience. So here you'll see 3 unique images that are in this widget, each with a separate call to action button. So you have access to an admin portal, so you could have at any time 3 active offer widgets. So JP and I were talking before the rest of you guys jumped on. He has an affiliation with an insurance company. So in this case, JP, this is where you could have a widget here or a marketing offer that talks about getting a quote for homeowners insurance or whatever the call to action is, and then this button could go to that website and drive lead traffic there. This could be a link back to your personal landing page as a company or as a loan officer. And then what I'm going to show you in a minute is how we use this to start the mortgage application process from a consumer's locker. But before I do that, I'm going to show you a couple other things. So for your clients that are already homeowners, so now you're thinking about maybe past clients or folks that you're bringing into the funnel that already own a home, they can enroll that property, upload a photo, and then they'll be able to track the estimated value of that property here in the locker. We have an integration with CoreLogic, so we bring in estimated home value. Down here in the lower right, you'll see this represents that mortgage that was enrolled in the locker. So we're bringing in actual outstanding balance on that mortgage, and then quickly showing the consumer their available equity in the property. Also provide the consumer recently sold properties. We call it the nosy neighbor feature, and then a coming soon feature that it will be throughout the locker, but we're kind of demoing it in this particular widget, is part of a partnership with Microsoft, where we're building out an AI feature in the locker. We're calling our digital financial assistant Madison. And in this case, you'll notice Madison is telling our locker owner, Brian, that she notices he's got $244,000 of equity and $55,000 of outstanding credit card debt. All that's coming from those enrolled accounts, and asking if he's interested in a debt consolidation or a cash out refi. And so as we build out this AI initiative, the next kind of stage would be to, if the consumer clicks yes, we would then present them with basically an offer. So we bring in kind of what it would look like to do a cash out refi in a 30-year versus a 15-year. And if the consumer's interested, we could actually kick off the mortgage application process right from that initiative. So that's a coming soon feature, probably third quarter into early fourth quarter. We'll have that live in the locker, and it just creates another level of engagement under your logo and under your name with that feature. Let's go back here now and show you real quick real estate search. So we partnered with a company called Nest Ready. Nest Ready is the engine that powers this real estate search. I'm going to show you some properties that I've favorited through various demos I've been doing. And so as a consumer, if I want to drill deeper into this search that I've saved, I can look at the listing. It's going to take me to the Nest Ready site. And this is where all the listing details of this particular property are going to be. But what's really cool here when we get there is that there's two things. This is also white labeled. So where you see FinLocker, this is going to be your company logo. And then wherever you see Eric Bloomquist, he's our FinLocker colleague, that's going to be you as the individual loan officer. So if you think about consumers who may be using other search sites like Zillow, they're kind of going out into the ether, turning into a lead and being marketed by everybody and their brother. So if you have consumers in your locker environment doing real estate search, they're only seeing you as the company and as the loan officer. So it's just another way to kind of insulate your prospects and customers from that, the evil empire out there. So coming back to the locker, now that I've come in as a consumer, I've some budgets, I understand my spending. Now I want to see where I stand as it relates to being ready for a mortgage. So we've built this mortgage readiness assessment. The readiness assessment comes to life once a consumer's completed their profile, which is part of the enrollment of the locker, enrolled their credit, and at least one asset account. I click into here. Now the locker is going to do some analysis on my data in the locker against a set of guidelines in the FinLocker rules engine. Today, we're defaulting to Fannie Freddie guidelines, which is what you see in this column. Green checks obviously are good. So in this case, the locker has looked at analyzed the consumer's credit report in the locker, validated no bankruptcies, no foreclosures, no lates. But now we get down to this funny line called debt to income ratio, and there's no green check. And these numbers kind of look funny to me. And then most consumers have no idea what debt to income is. This is where we use our library of education, serve up a short video on debt to income ratio. It's like a minute long. All of these videos are professionally produced, both audio and visual. They're legal and compliance reviewed by a partner of ours. And there's a library of over 140 plus of these videos throughout the locker. And then once a consumer has watched this debt to income ratio, that's all great. Now what do I do about it? Then we take them back into that link. If they haven't already set up budgets, they'll see this video, which will take them through why it's important to set up a budget, and more importantly, how to do it in the locker. So kind of a very descriptive, prescriptive approach, very useful and helpful for first-time home buyers. Another sneak peek of a coming soon feature, we're currently piloting with one of the GSEs and a couple large lenders to enable what we're calling a perpetual mortgage approval in a locker. So imagine another button up here where a consumer could click it and basically run a pre-approval on steroids, because it's going to be taking the data from the consumer's locker as well as a single bureau mortgage FICO soft pull credit report, so it won't trigger any activity, and run it through one of the GSE's automated underwriting engines. And so that's also another feature that'll be live in the lockers later this year. Let me just poke around in here, show you the education library real quick. We have links down the left to HUD, Freddie Mac, their Credit Smart program, both English and Spanish. And then here's the library of homeownership and mortgage readiness videos. Talks about the role of the mortgage broker, steps in the mortgage process. They can pick or go deeper into the mortgage process, which is, there's probably more videos in here than any of us would care to see, but it's a self-serve kind of learn as you go feature for consumers. And we're also building out a guided curriculum, especially for, again, I keep going back to the first-time home buyer, but again, we think we can really help that segment with education and preparedness, but it's really helpful across all consumer types. A couple other things in the locker. We have some dynamic calculators, and I say dynamic because they're reading off the data in the consumer's locker and then presenting back to them, much like you'll see on, a lot of the different calculators that are out there. But the difference is that the consumer now, they can come into this calculator, they don't have to do anything. It's reading all of their data. So it's telling them how much home they can afford, what the payments would be. We bring in an index rate from Optimal Blue, and from here they can save one of these scenarios. They can change the loan amount or the purchase price, make it lower, make it higher. You'll see as soon as we go to a certain level, it goes from green to red, which means that they're outside of their affordability. They can change the product here from conventional to FHA or VA. They can go down and change the rate, the term. So there are a lot of dynamic steps they can take, but the core data is all coming from their locker. So when we talk about their housing debts, those are coming from the credit report itself. And then finally, I'll show you this documents folder. This is where consumers that are coming into your sales funnel and you're getting them prepared for a mortgage. Maybe they're weeks or months away from being ready to apply. This is where you can have them store the documents that are ultimately going to be needed for their mortgage application. So pay stubs, tax returns, etc., can be stored in here. Now let me show you what it looks like when a consumer is ready to start a mortgage application process with you from their locker. So we have these calls to action, as I mentioned. Let me go back. I'm going to use this one. But imagine if this, instead of saying I'm interested, if it said apply now or start your mortgage now. So they're going to click here. We're going to take the consumer through a couple quick screens. This is going to say your company name. So they're just validating who they're sharing it with. Their purpose of this share is for a home loan, but if there was other products that you offered, those could be here. So home equity. We do have some bank clients that offer auto loans, credit cards, etc. This information is coming off the consumer's profile when they set up their locker. They said they were more likely interested in a single family home. They could change it to a two to family here. The loan came from the profile as well. And perhaps it came from the calculator that they did their analysis on, but they could change that loan amount here as well as their income. The income is self-reported. They're going to verify that this annual income is correct. They verify it. And if they want to add a co-borrower to their mortgage application, they could do that here. Otherwise, they'll click continue, which takes them to this sharing screen. And so a couple things to point out here. First thing is down the left, we kind of have your standard static mortgage application checklist. So the document required to start a successful mortgage application. And then we start to present to the consumer everything that's already inside their locker. In this case, the options represent the asset and liability accounts that they hold in their locker. So they can choose those accounts that they're going to share for this mortgage application. If they don't, if they know that they don't need to share their health savings, they can deselect that. And then the documents that they've stored in their locker. So tax returns, most recent pay stubs. And then if they had items on the checklist that weren't already in here, they could go to their desktop and grab their purchase agreement, proof of insurance, photo ID, or whatever, letter of explanation, etc. And they could add that all at this time. They're going to click continue. FinLocker presents the accounts and the documents back to the consumer to acknowledge and consent that they're going to share this with their loan officer. They'll click continue. And now what FinLocker is doing is sending an email directly to the loan officer with a link to the admin portal of FinLocker. And from the admin portal, which I'll go to now, you're going to see, so here's the admin portal. You'll come in and you'll see the sharing that's occurred. So in this case, this is representing what my customer has shared. I've already downloaded this just to speed it up, but I would basically click accept to accept the data and the documents. The data is being formatted in a Fannie Mae 3.2 file. So we're taking data from the consumer's profile, which includes that name, social, income, etc., as well as the data from their asset accounts, producing that into a Fannie 3.2. You're going to click accept, and then you're going to download it from there. Here's the download. Here's the tax returns, pay stubs. Here's the Fannie 3.2 file. It says MISMO, but it's a Fannie 3.2 file. And then finally, we take the data from those enrolled asset accounts and put it into an asset report. And here's a look at the asset report. So you're getting, in that data feed, you're getting the Fannie Mae asset key, which means when the loan goes into DU, you're going to get the lender that's running DU is going to be able to get the day one certainty, digital asset verification. But we're also taking the data, producing it into an asset report, and this report is acceptable to the agencies Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA. So if I would have clicked all 5 of those asset accounts, this single asset report would list each of those asset accounts on here and then break down the asset by deposit. So you'd see everything in one single report. So from an LO use case perspective, if you have clients with multiple bank accounts, you're going to see it all in one spot grouped together, but you're also getting the digital version of those assets for digital asset verification. Let me show you one other thing while we're in the admin portal. I showed you the rotating offers widget. Oh, it timed me out. And so I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like from a user perspective in the admin portal, and how you can quickly change marketing messages inside your customers' lockers. So here we go. So from the offers tab in the admin portal, these are the 3 offer widgets that you saw inside the locker. This button, this get started, is editable. So if I go into edit offers, I can I could swap out this image. I could change the destination. So if I want this to go to my internal URL and I want it to go to the share center, that's how I configure this to start a mortgage application. So I could change the verbiage on that button. Let's just call it apply now. Help if I could type. I'll hit save. Over here, just as an example, we work with My Credit Guy. They're actually one of our clients. And so in Sam's locker environment, he wanted to have a link back to his website. So you'll see MCG, My Credit Guy website, and we have his website down here. So from that locker, when the consumer clicks that link, it's going to this destination that you set in your locker. And so in this case, it would go to My Credit Guy's landing page. JP, this is where if you had one of your family members' insurance businesses, then the link would be your website, et cetera. Let me just show you real quick. You saw how I changed apply now in that offer. Let's go back in our locker, refresh. And instead of saying get started, that should say apply now when we get to it. Everything's pretty much real time once you refresh browser. And everything we're showing you here is available to the consumer on the app as well. There's the apply now button that's been changed in the consumer's locker. Let me take a pause. I covered a ton, and let me open it up for any thoughts, comments, questions, things you want to see deeper.
So when they pull they're pulling their credit, is that something that charges us, or is that something that charges them?
Oh, great question. So once the consumer has set up their credit and enrolled in the locker, not really pulling it per se. It's now being refreshed once per month, and so let me explain the cost model, because that'll kind of help you get a flavor for how this works. So our FinLocker model is B2B2C. So we do not go direct to consumers. Everything we do is through lenders, banks, credit unions, mortgage brokers, et cetera. And so our model is under brokers are better. We have, there's 3 cost components for an individual loan officer. There's a one-time setup fee of $200, which basically gets all the customization set up, gets your contact information in there, and includes kind of a training onboarding. And then there's a monthly license fee per loan officer. The base rate for our monthly license fee is $175 per month. That gives you, as an individual, up to 125 active lockers under that license. So the cost of credit, the cost of data aggregation, cost of real estate search, our overall cost to have the overhead and maintain the locker is all covered in that monthly license fee, which again gives you up to 125 active consumer lockers. And then based on what I showed you there, the apply now, when a consumer clicks the apply now to start a mortgage application, and this is important, and you accept it in the admin portal, there's a one-time transfer fee of $125. So the way we modeled this out from an ROI perspective, just to give you a view of that, if you had a single loan officer license, you paid the $200 up front, you paid your $175 per month, which annually that license fee comes at $2,100. And let's just say 5% of the locker converted to a mortgage loan, your total annual cost for this environment would be $3,050. If let's just say your margin or your revenue on a loan was 150 basis points and an average loan amount was 235, the ROI on that is somewhere north of 600%. So essentially one loan, maybe 2 loans, depending on your margin level and your loan amount, your loan balance, essentially covers your cost for the locker environment for a year. So Chris, does that answer your question there?
Yeah, it does. I wasn't sure if a client comes on there and is like, I want to know my credit, and so they start pulling it, willy nilly.
No.
Then, $30 here, $20 there, and you're like, you're cut off.
Yeah. No. This is set up. The credit feature is very similar to a Credit Karma type model. So once you've signed up and enrolled, it refreshes automatically. Obviously, the key difference between the Credit Karma model and this model is that's your logo, that's your name, and we're not selling you the client as a lead to somebody else. They're in your ecosystem, only seeing you. They're only seeing what you want them to see in terms of offers, recommendations.
Okay.
Great question there.
What about doing business as my company is under Encore Lending Group, but I market myself as a totally different company. Is there any issue with that?
So we will. So the issue is yes, and we'll make it work.
Okay.
I'll take that question specifically to others on the line. It definitely applies to others that we talk to. Are you authorized to execute agreements on behalf of Encore, or execute like a master agreement?
No.
So Encore would execute, is that what you're saying?
Well, I have a totally separate business.
Yeah.
That I channel things through. And so on that regard, yes. If it comes to actually licensing and MLS and that kind of thing, no. I have to go through my partner.
Yeah. So what we could do for you, so that your case is not, it's not that unique, frankly.
Okay.
What we would do is we would have, the company, we'll call it the company being Encore, they would sign a master services agreement with FinLocker.
Right.
And then for you individually, you'll sign an individual, we call it a loan officer billing addendum. And
Right.
then we would just set up, in your case, we would just set up a unique instance of FinLocker So Encore could have potentially 2 instances of FinLocker. One would be branded under Encore if they wanted to use that for any loan officers that are, you know, under the Encore brand. And then your instance could be under your brand logo and be connected to you. So we can definitely work with you on that.
Okay.
Good question. Anybody else?
Yeah, my take is yeah, I mean, you see like the credit score option that's in like a lot of like with banks or whatnot. Like I have Wells Fargo, you see that. So that's pretty standard. You need that, right?
Yeah.
You also see some of this in banks as well. Like I think my credit union has, and you can put in your accounts and kind of figure out budget for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my feedback, but this is more, it's a simplistic view, which is awesome. And it's giving you so much more, and it's good back end data. I mean, you're using core logic. You're not taking like Zillow values.
Right.
Like, you know, it's legit, no doubt. And there's so much that goes into it, but it's a simple format. I mean, I think it's awesome.
When you look at the dashboard, like looking at it right here, when you first see it, you're like, oh my God, there's a lot there. But there's 2 steps to the process to really make this come to life. It's enrolling in your credit and starting to add financial accounts. Mm-hmm. And what we've seen with this, you know, kind of current COVID crisis is a higher propensity for consumers to want to use apps like this and have everything in one place. And so I think it definitely can differentiate, you know, you as an originator with your clients, because to your point, JP, you're now providing them with a tool that they otherwise could have gotten from their bank or credit union. And now they have access to this with a deeper, more robust kind of home and mortgage fee.
Yeah. Are you, with engagement? So let's say, well, how long has this been out to the consumer right now?
So this version of the product is what we call version 2.0. It's been market with consumers through lenders primarily for about 8 months. And I'll say lenders and bank and credit unions. We've been in market with brokers really for about 45 days. And then, as you know, we were talking earlier, we launched it. Chris Griffith from Debt Does Deals. He's got his vetted VA community, which is upwards almost 8,000 veterans that are in that community. He launched his version of FinLocker. So this just gives you an example of how clients are messaging and marketing and driving where they're driving consumers to learn more about the product. So Chris called it the vetted VA go bag. So you have flexibility in your product. It doesn't have to be called FinLocker. You can come up with a unique name. I think I forget what I came up with, JP, for you. It was something with bus though, the Fin Bus or something like that.
Yeah.
And you could have a cool, you know, bus logo there. But anyway, you know, we basically built this landing page, and we could stand up landing pages for you guys. If you're already a Lead Pops client, you're going to have this Lead Pops landing page already built for you. If not, we built these very similar landing page for our non-Lead Pops clients. And so just to give a little bit of color on Vetted VA, they went live with their product March 7th, the weekend of March 7th. As of this morning, they have 1,100 enrolled veterans in their Vetted VA Go Bag product. They're pushing 70% of those veterans have enrolled their credit, and over 60% have enrolled at least one financial account. So their engagement perspective, we see a very highly engaged population come from that Vetted VA group. What we didn't turn on as functional from a functionality perspective yet in those lockers is the sharing component. Mainly because right now the way that locker is configured, it's not configured to a mortgage broker or a loan officer. It's configured to a nonprofit, this vetted VA community. And so Chris is working on building a vetted network of loan officers who ultimately can be connected to consumers through that vetted VA go bag. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, but we're seeing engagement start to accelerate. Scott Shang with BuyWise and FindMyWayHome.com just launched this week with FinLocker. So we're excited to see his Find My Way Home website, which has like 20,000 unique visitors per month, what that looks like over there.
Yeah, like, so if someone uses it, like, obviously someone gets it and they're all, let's go, let's go, let's go. Have you seen any drop off at all? Like after like 3 weeks?
Consumer drop off?
Not super drop off, but I would think people get in, they put their info in, they love it, and then they might maybe start forgetting about it. Like, have you seen that?
Yeah, you're like any financial app, you're going to have kind of, normal attrition. What we try to do is, and I think I missed this when I was showing you guys, we try to leverage the in-app communications that are coming from the app itself. So when they've set up a budget or goals or enrolled their property or enrolled for credit, there's a series of communications that are, or notifications rather, that are delivered. And those are meant to bring the consumer back to the locker, right? So we're pretty much every sprint cycle, and we're an agile 2-week sprint cycle development company. Every sprint cycle, we're trying to enhance the engagement, all with the idea that we want to continue to bring them back to your locker, right? So the more the locker engages with them, especially as we start to build out that AI feature I showed, the digital financial assistant, that will continue to bring consumers back in. Going back real quick and just to show you another level of customization, I went back to the portal, and from here, I'm going to click into the notifications. So down the left, these are our current static notifications that exist. So when you're over budget, under budget, et cetera, when you enrolled credit and your credit score increases, decreases, or you had an alert, you have these kind of fixed notifications that occur. Over here, down the right, are the messages that can get pushed. You get these. So this is another way for you to further personalize how the locker is representing your brand. So you can create specific notification messages that are pushed, or you can just use our static messages that we deliver today. All right, we're getting to the top of the hour. Any other questions anybody has?
If you're sitting in my shoes right now, what question would you ask that I didn't ask?
How do I start?
Right, but not from your side, from my side.
No. I would probably ask questions like, what's the use case? Who would I start, or who would I begin to invite to a locker? And so if that was the question posed to me, and I understand your loan officer as a mortgage originator, as a mortgage broker, I came out of that business 27 years, principally as a wholesale lender. So I know your business very well. If you have a customer, a consumer that comes to your sales funnel today and they're ready right now to get a mortgage, I'm not putting them in a locker today. I'm going to take them through my normal point of sale, whatever that is, and I'm off to the races. Conversely, though, if I have a customer prospect comes to me and they're not ready today, either because they're a younger first-time home buyer and they're just getting started, so they don't even know what they don't know yet, the locker becomes a great tool to invite them, to give them a tool to help them become literate and ready. And it's, again, under your brand, so you're helping them, but you're keeping them in your kind of ecosystem, so they're nurturing and grooming under your brand. The other segment of folks that I would invite to a locker are those customers that come to you and they're not ready because their credit's not needs to be, their DI is too high, right? So kind of any of that fallout population, this is a great tool to nurture and groom that segment. And then on the other end of the barbell, I would invite my past clients as a kind of a customer for life utility, especially knowing what we think is coming down the pipe with respect to the rates, later this year and into 2021. I would probably try to get as many of my past clients into a locker, thinking about being ready to pull the trigger on a refinance as possible. I don't know if that helps you. That's just kind of the way I think about it as an originator.
Hey, Brian, is there like a mini demo that we could give to our book of business?
Yeah. There's a handful of videos that we'll make available to you outside of the locker. And we've been talking about actually creating, obviously you don't want to put someone through this hour-long demo I just put you through.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about creating like a 5 to 7 minute video, 100% geared on the consumer experience. And so we'll have something like that here probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks that will be non-branded so that you can use it and have it sitting on your website, et cetera. We do have a very short video that I think is pretty helpful. Let me just play it for you here.
Welcome to FinLocker, a personalized financial management tool designed to help you do a better job of managing your financial health. Gone are the days of manually tracking.
I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but it essentially it goes through in about 3 minutes the features and benefits of the locker, how it's secure, safe, et cetera. I personally am a believer in, and I'm Chris Griffith has really made me a believer. I think the most powerful video is one that you produce talking about the features and benefits and why it's important to the consumer. Now, obviously you got to get comfortable enough to do that, but I think that's ultimately the most powerful, message you can send is when it's coming out from you, specifically.
Yeah. That's where I'd like to, so I have for about 4 or 5 years, I've had a private Facebook group for my book of business. Oh, yeah. The people that we've friended, I don't know, there's like 500-600 in there right now, right?
Yeah.
Just people we've done business with. And that's where I love to be like, here's the main points, do a video in there and be like, is this something that you guys would be interested in if we gave it to you for free?
Yeah.
And like, that's where I love to see
that's what Chris did. Yeah.
And be like, hey, most of them are like, oh yeah, that's great. But like, who's going to use it? Like, be direct. Like, who's
yeah. That's what Chris did when Chris launched it with Vetted VA. It was a weekend. I remember sitting here on a Saturday, and he did a video, and he's like, the first 100 people, no, the first 50 people that respond, you're gonna get a free go bag. And within 40 minutes, we were like at 90 people. We're like, oh man, what happened here?
Right.
But he was asking for feedback, and so my phone was blowing up because my email was on there. But yeah, it was. That's the way to do it. It's using short video, using testimonials, and getting feedback that way. But I think you're going to find that you're going to get a pretty good response rate just being yourself and putting it out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to start. I have to take it. I'm a minute late for this 3 o'clock call.
Me too.
But yeah, I'm gonna put that in my group. I want to see what type of engagement I'm get from it and see who's interested and get some feedback and give that back to you, Brian. Just so you can see what I'm getting from my specific group of book of business, in this area. That'll help you out too.
Love it.
That's where I'm going to start.
One of the follow-ups that we'll do from this call is we'll send you guys kind of a proposal to just show it outlines the numbers I shared with you, just so you can kind of have a better look and feel of that.
Cool.
Chris, I think you were going to ask a question.
No, I was just saying goodbye.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
That was good.
Much appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Lurking in the back here. Thanks, brother.
All right. See you, man. Later.